All right, students. We are getting ready to conclude Chapter 1 from Mosby's Fundamentals of Therapeutic Massage. And we're going to focus on the end of chapter questions. So let me share the screen. And so now I have to go through finding the end of chapter questions. And there we go. We should have it now. All right. So in the first two videos, we went through the chapter itself, and we ended up discussing the referencing. Just want to remind everybody that you can, through your electronic textbook, you can click right on these and they'll take you, hopefully, they'll take you right to the article or reference. So wherever you see a blue, click, see what happens. So let's look at what this whole multiple choice question thing is. Now, one of the main goals of the textbook, the two, Essential Science and Fundamentals for Therapeutic Massage, is to prepare you to challenge the MBLEX exam. And the MBLEX exam is the licensing exam put forth by the Federation of State Massage Boards that is used by most states as the exam you take as part of what you are going to do for licensure. The exam is difficult to study for. It uses content from the two textbooks plus other textbooks as referencing material that subject matter experts use to write test questions. You have to understand the language to be able to understand what the question is asking. And then you have to be able to use critical thinking skills to try to match up the correct answer with the question. It can be interesting. It can be frustrating. Sometimes there's a sense of ambiguity. I oftentimes will recommend that people just go take the exam. After you have been a diligent student, studied through your material at Health Enrichment Center, done all of the homework responsibilities, attended class, looked at all the videos, and have been serious about how you prepare. So this feature here in the back is going to help you try to understand not only the content in the chapter, but how the questions are formulated and how you can use multiple choice type questions that you can find in a lot of study guides and apps and that sort of thing to start to prepare your brain to think the way that you're going to need to be able to think for you to pass the MBLEX exam. So, like I say, I tell students just go take it. At graduation, tell them, go take it. Just go take it. If you've been a good student, you have been very self-initiating on your studies, the pass rate's about 65 to 70%. So that means a little over half of you will pass on the first time and the rest of you will have to take it again. Kind of how it goes. So that's okay. Don't get yourself too wrapped up around that. And many times when people struggle with exams like this, there's an underlying test anxiety, and you may need some professional help to help you get over that. Because when you're anxious, it's your primitive brain that's working, and it doesn't know how to pass a multiple choice test. So there's a lot of information on the Federation of State Massage Board's website that will help you pursue that more. And I'll do a YouTube video specific on that. But I want you to understand now how using in the classroom these questions or using them on your own will help you achieve your licensing requirements. So the intent is that these questions were to stimulate discussion and dialogue in the classroom. There's two types of questions that you'll generally see. One type is factual recall, or more like a definition question. Which of the following bones is in the forearm? The application, concept identification, and synthesis questions use the facts in a way that creates a problem to be solved. So we know that we have two bones in our forearm, radius and ulna. So that might evolve into an application concept identification question that would sound something like a client indicates that they had a book fall on their forearm 2 weeks ago, and it's still very sore and has some swelling. Which of the following bones could have a stress fracture? And so you might have humerus, radius, tibia, clavicle. So you're going to have to know the definition and the location of all those bones. Plus you're going to have to know what a forearm is, and you're going to have to know what a stress fracture is. And you're going to put all that information together, and you're going to try to pick the best answer out of that. So factual recall questions are more about terminology and definitions. And if you don't have that, you are not going to be able to understand what the questions and the potential responses, the answers are trying to say. The MBLEX exam primarily seems to use application concept identification, but the fact-based questions are good for reinforcing the vocabulary. Now, the answers and rationales are provided on the Evolve website under content updates. If you're an HEC student and you are working through your Canvas, we have loaded those up on your Canvas for each chapter. So a rationale is what explains why the right answer is right and why the wrong answers are wrong. And you should study these questions in that type of a way. So let's look at a few of these. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Definition type based questions. And there's no way you can cover every single piece of information in a chapter. through a question structure. So unfortunately, you got to know a lot of language. And it's like learning a new language. And then you use that language when we get down here to these more story problem type questions. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8. And then it's going to ask you in all of the chapters to write your own questions. And this would be a really, really good group activity. Use these questions as examples. And small groups get together and you write, the textbook asks for 3, but more is better. And you write these questions along with the correct answer and the rationale. You can put these together. Maybe you can use a Google Docs, or you can use the discussion feature on Canvas, and you can use these as study quizzes. So in this first chapter, I go through the idea of how you develop multiple choice questions. So a multiple choice question has 2 parts. And if you understand how this goes together, it helps you challenge a multiple choice exam a little bit better. So the actual question part is called the STEM. It's presenting a little problem, or it's asking for information. And a set of alternatives or potential possible answers. One of the answers is the best answer to the question. It can get confusing because there might be other responses that are available that are actually okay, but they might not be the very best answer. So you got to sort through it that way. And this is what trips a lot of students up, is that they can make a case for multiple answers. But you got to try to find, and that's where critical thinking comes in, you got to try to use your best guess to get to the best answer. So the other possibilities are called distractors. And these need to be plausible. They can't just be out in the ether someplace, but they should be truly incorrect. Something has to be not right in those distractors. So in the STEM, when you're practicing this, use your own words, restate information from the textbook. Don't pick up, like go to the glossary at the back of the book and pick up a definition. Don't do that. Rewrite it for yourself. And then try to work that into a little bit of a puzzle, a problem to be solved that your right answer will solve. And make sure that you include just enough information in the question to identify, so that the reader can identify the best answer, and keep it real concise. Don't make it really, really long. This is hard to do. You'll create A, B, C, D options, A, B, C, D. And you want to make sure that each of these options are similarly, have a similar length. So you don't want to have your right answer be 2 sentences and your wrong answers be 3 words. You want some similarity there. That adds to the plausibility. Make sure that the best answer is clearly correct, and understand that creating distractors is difficult. And you'll actually learn the most by creating plausible wrong answers. So some hints for creating good wrong answers are using true statements, but they aren't the answer to the question. So back to the one I talked about with the stress fracture in the forearm. There are two bones there. So there's the ulna and the radius. And I only used radius. I didn't put ulna and radius as answers. I had only one of the bones that's in the forearm. So if I had had ulna, radius, clavicle, and humerus, two of those answers could have been correct. And there was information in that question, location information, that this was in the forearm. So the answer humerus is good because it is in the upper limb, but it's not specific to the forearm. So that's a way of using accurate information, but it doesn't particularly answer the question. Using false information that appears related to the problem in the stem. So if I were to use the same practice question and somehow I said that the humerus was in the forearm, that's not right. So by pairing a location with a factual nugget, a bone name, I can make it wrong because I can put that bone in the wrong location. Use similar language, but make sure the terms are clearly incorrect. So the word radius, if I can find the name of a bone that looks like radius, or is in a similar location in the lower limb, like the tibia, if I make that be one of my wrong answers, then the person has to be able to clearly understand where the location of this is. The same with a question that might involve a muscle group. So if I use the term adductors, then I can use my muscles that are adductors, but not adductors specific to that location. So Latissimus Dorsi, it's a muscle on the back that works the arm, is an adductor of the shoulder. So it's going to work the upper limb. But if my location is an adductor of the hip, I can use Latissimus dorsi as one of my distractors, because it is true that it is an adductor, but it's not an adductor of the hip. So that's how you can also create wrong answers. Trivial details should not make a statement false. So a little tiny itty bitty nitpicky obscure information, you don't want to do that. And then avoid using all of the above or none of the above. Now, in the chapter tests, I do have some questions that have that, but the chapter tests are a little difficult or a little different. They're actually teaching questions. So each question is like a little lesson. And so sometimes there will be all of the above or none of the above. So on Canvas for you, you'll have the chapter test that you will do. That's different than these questions here in the book. Okay, so this would be then the assignment. Write at least 3 multiple choice questions, 1 of each type: factual recall, comprehension, application, and concept identification. And then a real story problem type, which is clinical reasoning and synthesis. And what we will do at Health Enrichment Center is I'll give you various directions about a group activity that would involve this, or posting your written questions on the discussion platform or something like that. We'll do various things with this. So let's go back up to this question and take these questions and take a look at them now. So this very first one is a true factual recall. Professionalism is defined as. You probably won't find a question like this on the NBLEX exam, but it is a good study question. So let's look at all the terms. We've got professionalism. Then down in here we have occupation, service. We have concepts here: an intricate system that is structured and systematic. And we have adherence to professional status, methods, standards, and character. Now, we got some things that aren't great about this question. One is that the potential answers down here are not all the same length. 2 of them, A and B, are shorter than C and D. And so that can be a giveaway. And it actually is a giveaway in this question, because the adherence to professional standards, methods, status, methods, standards, and character, that's the correct answer here. So this is not the best question, but it's good as far as structure is concerned. But it's a good one for you to learn definitions. An occupation is a thing that we do. And a service means that it is involving people directly. An intricate system that is structured and systematic would be more like the form of massage. So this is how you would sort yourself through this question. So let's look at this one. A productive or creative activity that serves as one's regular source of livelihood is A. So in this one, this first one up here, the word was used in the stem and the definitions were in the answers. Here, the definition is given for one of these words down here. So this is 2 different ways to manipulate a question like this. So we would have to know what a service is, what a therapeutic application is, what healing is, and what an occupation is. So the correct answer on this one is occupation. Service is a pretty good wrong answer here, because when you are reading through the content, an occupation can be as a service provider. Doesn't have to be, though. Therapeutic application is something that you do. It would be part of the creative activity. But there would be more than that if this is your regular livelihood. Healing would be potentially a result that could happen, but again, it's not the activity. So this becomes the definition of occupation. One more is a little bit more complex. If a massage therapist is describing how much their career choice satisfied their need to help people who are recovering from trauma and loss, they are speaking of massage as. So this is describing an experience. And then here are the words we would have to know the definition of: vocation, professional job, cultural communication, and technique. So this is the definition of a vocation. A professional job can be any job. It can be being a pharmacy tech, it can be a veterinarian, it can be a massage therapist. But when we are talking about it in terms of this context, this internal satisfaction, how we're satisfied with this, then that is what more specifically sets it apart as a vocation. Cultural communication is part of how we present ourselves, but it doesn't necessarily meet the criteria put forth in this question. And a technique is a little bit of a giveaway answer. It's something that we do. This question here is a mini story problem, little bit. It's giving you an example of something. A middle-aged client is reluctant to work with a 22-year-old massage therapist. This is an example of. So you're going to have to know what gender issues are, genetic predisposition is, age issues, and body sensitivity. You're going to have to know the definition of these. So this is talking about age. So the correct answer would be C. If I change this question and put a middle-aged male client is reluctant to work with a 22-year-old female massage therapist, then it is a gender issue and an age issue. So then you have to decide, are we talking about age here or are we talking about gender? And this is an example where some of these questions can get difficult, and it's frustrating to a lot of people that are challenging the exam. A more clear question then would be a middle-aged client, a middle-aged male, or a male client is reluctant to work with a female client or a female massage therapist. You take the age right out of there. Then it is clearly gender related. Okay, that's how these questions work. And do discuss these. Even if your class isn't set up, these are talked about in the classroom, study groups are fantastic. And this is a good way to structure a study group. So let's get down into one of these application concept identification questions. These are more of a story problem. There are multiple elements that you have to connect together. So this element is related to this element that comes together to help us get to the right answer. So let's start with the first one. A massage therapist is frustrated with the dress code at the place of employment. Okay, so there's information there that we need to know. First, this person is an employee, is implied. And the person is frustrated related to what they have to wear. All massage employees are required to wear the uniform provided by the employer. So the employer is giving these uniforms to the massage therapist. Now we're looking at, here's the problem. Is that an okay thing to do? And the statement that we're going to pick as the correct answer must justify why this employer can do that and require them to wear a particular uniform. So here are the answers, potential answers. And so for the most part, they're all about the same length. D down here is a little shorter. It looks like we got a little typo here. That should probably be a period. Now, don't get your fashion twist on all of this. Nothing's perfect. They've had multiple proofreaders on this. We have gone through and through and through and through and through and through, and we're still going to have some little boo-boos. If it's a serious one, please report it to the publisher. For HEC students, you let me know about it. But this little semicolon instead of a period here is probably not a life or death situation. So we're trying to figure out why this employer can tell people what to wear at work. So the first option here is a vocation is a strong altruistic motivation to follow a specific occupational career pathway to be of service of others. That's absolutely correct. That statement is correct. But it doesn't justify, it does not relate to why an employer can require the massage therapist to wear a uniform. A professional is a person who engages in a profession. A professional is a person who engages in a profession and is committed to adhering to standards, to the standards expected of qualified and experienced person in a specific work environment. That could be right. I don't want to make a decision on that one yet. I want to read the next one. Professional autonomy means having the authority to make decisions and the freedom to act in accordance with one's own professional knowledge base. And the last one, a service is something done for another that results in a specific income. Specific outcome. I can rule that one out. It doesn't relate to the question. But these two, I got to investigate further. So we're trying to find a statement that supports this idea that this employer can tell this person they have to wear this uniform. So when you are an employee, you give up some of your autonomy. An employer can tell you what your schedule is, what uniform you wear, how you perform your duties. So this definition, professional autonomy, means having the authority to make decisions and the freedom to act in accordance with one's professional knowledge base. So this one is going to be wrong because as an employee, you don't have universal autonomy. So you don't have all of the authority. When you make that decision to be an employee, you give up some of the authority to act. Now, ethically, you're always going to do what is the right thing. And an employer can't ask you to do something illegal or unethical. But they can tell you that you have to wear a certain uniform as long as it is a proper uniform. So let's look at B again. So we've ruled out A, we've ruled out C, we ruled out D. So B is the correct answer. So let's see if we can figure out why. A professional is a person. Okay. So if we're a massage therapist, we're acting professionally, who engages in this profession, massage therapy, and is committed to adhering to the standards expected of a qualified and experienced person. You're supposed to behave like you're supposed to in a specific work environment. This is the part that makes this the right answer. So all of these are true statements, but only B fits with the question. Let's look at another one. Okay, let's look at 7 here. A massage therapist chooses to be involved with the promotion of massage therapy benefits in their city. Part of this process is recruiting and organizing other massage therapists to participate in scheduled events. Which of the following describes the massage therapist's role? So we have to figure out what this question is asking. So this is something a massage therapist, it doesn't tell us if they're an employee or self-employed or anything else. It just tells us that they choose to promote massage therapy in general in their location, their city. Part of what is going to be required of this is that they bring other massage therapists together and to help them work together. What is that called when that occurs? So this is almost a definition question, but not quite because it's embedded. So we've got leadership, motivation, commitment, and status. We have to know what each of these means. So status, you can just look these things up on Google too, as well as in the textbook. So status means where is your position in a hierarchy? Status might apply here. You might be able to get people to do something because you have a high status. Commitment certainly is important because it takes a commitment to the value of massage to go forward and do something like this. So is motivation. You need to do that. You need to be motivated. These are all things that you do inside yourself. They're not necessarily a role. They're not externalized. Leadership is a role, and that's what makes this the right answer to this question. So here's how you use these questions to help you solidify work through the information, novel repetition, and develop your critical thinking skills. And then write some of your own questions. And we'll tell you how you're going to share those and what you're going to do. And hopefully others that are using the textbooks will make use of this as well. Okay, so that basically is going to finish up Chapter 1 in Fundamentals of Therapeutic Massage, 7th edition. And our next video will be Chapter 2. And we'll probably be dividing that into 3 or 4 sections as well. And so use these videos for Chapter 1 to help you formulate your own individual study. Remember, your teacher is your textbook just as much as I am. And you are also your own teacher. And this is part of what adult learning is.